Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. This is another episode review of Attack on Titan Season 2, Episode 9, entitled Opening. And by the way, I didn't mean to upload this last week, but I got behind. So hopefully I have the next episode up Sunday or Monday like usual. But on to it. First thoughts. Absolutely intense and awesome episode. I was really feeling the intensity of the dialogue, especially the dialogue between Eren and Reiner. Very awesome animation, awesome acting, and very awesome storytelling. So the plot. Here's what the plot was. So right at the beginning, we see the scouts heading out towards the giant forest, or the forest of giant trees, whichever it is called. We cut to Hanji crawling forward on wall rows, demanding a horse so she can go back to Connie's village and conduct more research on the Titan with the golden eyes. One of her subordinates goes in her place instead. We then see Eren and Ymir waking up on a branch of one of the giant trees under the watchful eye of Reiner and Bertolt. As Eren awakens, the first thing he notices is that his arms are missing, and in their place are these nubs with steam coming out of them. Reiner explains his carelessness in removing Eren from his Titan body, as he accidentally bit off Eren's arms. Eren tries to bite his arm again to escape, but Ymir calms him down and explains to him that transforming now won't work, considering their situation. After explaining to Eren how pointless going Titan would be, she demands that Reiner and Bertolt tell them about what's going on. As the two captors explain what they're talking about, or explain that they're taking Eren and Ymir to their quote-unquote hometown, wherever that is. Eren, meanwhile, is contemplating how he would escape, and none of his ideas seem like they'll work, at least not for now. Eren then has a flashback about his and Reiner's fight right before he figures out that he needs more info about what's happening. Meanwhile, Hannes is still trying to reassure Mikasa that Eren is doing just fine as the scouts make their way closer to the giant forest. Back in the forest, Reiner starts speaking very, very strangely about the fight he and Ymir and Bertolt had with the Titans inside Castle Utgard. He thanks Ymir for saving him with the cannon, and then talks briefly about hooking up with Historia. All of this surprises and confuses Eren and Ymir, until Bertolt pipes up and reminds Reiner that they're both warriors. They're not soldiers. Reiner reacts by having a flashback of Marco's death, and how basically he, Annie, and Bertolt participated in killing off Marco. He snaps out of his split personality and is remembering his original job. His original job to be a warrior against the humans within the walls. He sinks his face into his hands while Ymir explains to Eren Reiner's strange psychological coping mechanism. At this, Reiner yells at Ymir to shut up. It's at this point that Eren can't stand to see either of these two traitors feeling emotional. Eren then demands that Bertolt tell him what went through his mind when Eren told him about his mother's death and how she got eaten by a Titan. Bertolt responds by saying that at that time, he felt sorry for Eren. But only at that time, only in that moment. And from here on, Eren and Reiner fly into a vicious tirade, exchanging words of rage. Eren calls both of them psychotic mass murderers who killed hundreds of innocent people. Reiner responds by demanding that Eren not remind him of that. Eren proclaims that neither of them are even human anymore. And Reiner ends with advising Eren to go ahead and scream his goddamn head off if that makes him feel better. Eren then quietly admits that he will find a way to make both of them pay for what they've done when he gets the chance. He promises that. Ymir then asks the two traitors about the Beast Titan. Ymir is suspecting that the Beast Titan is behind everything that happened in the past couple of days or so. This then becomes a conversation about Ymir's next move and who she should ally herself with in order to survive. Not too long later, the green flares from the scouts appear in the distance about an hour before sunset. Bertolt and Reiner look worried, and the episode ends with a shot of the giant forest. And that's how the episode ends. Animation. As far as the animation was concerned, animation was on point as usual. There was a slight difference, and this was a very positive difference. The scenes during Eren and Reiner's argument were especially well done when it comes to expressing the pain and rage they both felt. Very good with the facial expressions. Very good with the eyes, especially Eren's eyes. Those wide open and angry eyes. Very good detail with that with the animators. Interesting thing I noticed. Let's see, we got 5. So, 1, I noticed how the one Titan was lying on the ground of the forest in a relaxed pose, except it kept staring at the 4 the entire time, never shifting its gaze. That was interesting yet creepy at the same time. Number 2, the small scene where Reiner tells Ymir to shut up. Something about the voice acting came out just right in that scene. Perfect timing and perfect intensity in the dialogue right when he said that. Number 3, the entire scene between Eren and Reiner when they're scolding each other was just beautifully crafted. The wide eyes, the nearly perfect pitch, the volume, the rage in both their voices, those very interesting motion blurs on the edges of the screen that showed how intense that argument was, the shading, the coloration, etc. So many things were just completely well placed in that entire, what was like 30 seconds of dialogue between those two. Beautifully executed. 4, Reiner sounded slightly less intense than I think he should have, but only a teeny tiny bit. Eren, on the other hand, sounded pretty much perfect. So big ups to both voice actors. Number 5, Ymir's snarkiness about Reiner's schizophrenia was a bit bitchy, yet awesome, and really did a good job of making her character seem oddly likable. Best thing about the episode was the short but intense dialogue between Eren and Reiner. Their rage, their voice acting, the motion blurs, the music, the sound effects, that long kind of stringy bass that was going on behind their entire dialogue that signified their mutual rage. Pretty much everything about that scene was either on point or very nearly on point. Again, especially Eren's eyes. There was so much sadness, pain, and fury animated into Eren's eyes. Very well done. Worst about the episode? Again, there's really nothing to complain about this episode. The only thing that I think was a bit off was when Reiner sounded just a tiny little bit flat when he yelled back at Eren. Eren sounded more intense than Reiner. I feel like it should have been more even. And when I say Reiner's voice just sounded a tiny little bit flat, if the anger and intensity that they're supposed to express in that scene was supposed to be 100 out of 100, Eren's felt like a 100. Reiner's felt more like a 95 out of 100. It was just slightly too low. It seemed like it could have been just a teensy bit more intense and it would have been fine. Other than that, there's nothing much to complain about in this episode. Episode was just absolutely nicely done. Favorite scene? Again, the whole entire dialogue between Eren and Reiner. That whole sequence was just nicely done. It was beautiful. For an overall score, I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. Not as much action, but lots of intensity, lots of emotion, lots of character development, all using very well written dialogue. Overall, I thought this episode was awesome. So much intensity was packed into incredibly nicely written, nicely dubbed dialogue that really showed us watching the episode the effects of certain characters' actions and how those actions affected them emotionally and how it greatly affected their relationship with each other. Loved it as usual. This was the critique of episode 9. That's all for now. Please like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon and my donation buttons. I'll put them in the link in the description. So please donate and support this channel for more uploads. I'm out, everybody. Peace.